Hi everyone, you're welcome to the sewing part of our last tutorial. Now this is the pattern drafting before cutting it on the actual fabric. If you haven't watched the drafting part, I'll drop the link in the comment section for you guys to go check it out because it is very important then before you come back to watch this video. And for those that have already watched it, you can continue with this. Now after sewing, this is how the top part is, and this is it on my client's body. It is a skirt and a blouse. Like I said in the previous video, that's what is trending now. You sew your corset blouse, then you wear your skirt on it, and she's so happy with the outcome. It is very fitting, like she loved it. So let's get started with the sewing, and give me a like if you find the video interesting. I've gone ahead to cut the pattern on the fabric rather. Then I added half inch sewing allowance all round it except the side seam where the pattern already have the sewing allowance. That is the cup side, and I'm just showing you how everything is. And because it's asymmetric corset, that's why you're seeing plenty lines. And we have the back part. Now for the back part, I'm using the lace and this duchess and lining. The front is just the duchess and the lining, but the back is going to have the lace. And I also put half inch allowance all round it except the down parts. And let's go ahead with the sewing. So we'll be sewing the cup part first. Now this is my cup. I made this cup myself. I have a tutorial where you can make your cup, your costume cup, or you buy your already made cup in the market. But it is always better when you make your cup because it will give you that shape in which you use in cutting. So you are going to take one cup and the other cup. You sew with half inch. You take the other one, the side front and the center front, then you do the same thing for the lining. Now when we were drafting, I made sure I put numbers on all the patterns so you will understand if you are going to sew, because corset sometimes can be tricky. So after fixing the cup, I've gone ahead to sew it, and I'm just going to notch it. Then before we attach the upper part, because it is a 3-part corset, we just did 2. So this upper part, watch the way I place it. So we have the side front, that is the larger part, and the larger part also on your pattern. You have to make sure everything aligns together. Don't place center front on another side front. That is why I said it is good for you to label your pattern. So you take the other cup and you are going to place them. So you can notch them so you don't get confused. But I think with this you should be able to understand. Now this is the lining. I'm also placing it side to side, center front to center front, like center front cup. Then I went ahead to do that for the last lining, and we are going to be sewing. After sewing, this is how it is. You can see the cup is very pronounced. It's giving it that fullness. Now for the lining I'm just going to be putting boning because I just want to do a little bit of cage hat. Now I'm going to place the boning on the seam that I sew, excluding, you have to leave half inch on both sides. Then for the other downside, you also sew your boning on it. You leave half inch. So when I sew, this is how it is. You're going to sew the smaller one first before you sew the center one. Now let's start sewing the bodice because we just finished the cup. So guys, you take your center front, you're going to open it, then you take number 2, because the center front is the center front one. You take the number 2 side front 2, you place them on the dart line, and you're going to sew with 1/2 inch. After that, you take the side front 3, then you're going to place them on the corresponding darts, that's the corresponding lines, and you are going to sew it with 1/2 inch. So when you sew, it's giving you something like that. Now for the lining is cut, not on fold. I added 1/2 inch to the lining because I want to put boning on the lining center front. I hope you understand. So what I repeat for the actual piece, I am repeating it for the lining. Now after that, you're now going to sew the 1/2 inch so that you can get your center front. Guys, I've gone ahead to sew all the lines. It is like this. Then you open all your seams and you're going to give it a very good press. You do the same thing for the actual piece. You can see it is only the lining that have the seam, the center front. The actual piece does not have, because I don't want to put boning on the actual piece center front. So guys, for the back pattern, now you are going to arrange them center back 1, side back 2, side back 3. So you start picking them one after the other. You can see all my arrows. That is how you pick, because this back is very confusing because they look alike. So you place the first one on the other one, you pin. Do this before you sew, before you go and be sewing one after the other. Then you take the side back 3. You can see where my arrow is going to. Then you place them together and you are going to pin it. You know, now we have 3, so you keep it. Then you take the other side, put your pattern on it so you know what you are sewing. Then you also start arranging them one after the other. So I'm also using my paint. Then I'm taking the third one as well. So after pinning, you're going to sew all the parts you pin. Then for the lining, the same thing we did. I'm just writing the lacing part, so I'll know that lacing part. You don't have to sew that part. So you place them on each other, one after the other. You have to do this. You have to keep putting your patterns on it, because I've been there, done that. So I've made mistakes in the past and I don't want to repeat such mistakes again. So I make sure my patterns are always on my fabric. Then I start placing them one after the other. Guys, after sewing the back piece, this is how it is. Now let's work on the front piece. So I have this Regine boning. I also have this boning. This boning is 0.25. The plastic one, it is very small. That is what I want to, because we are going to be doing double boning. Now for the lining, I'm only putting boning on just the center front of the lining. I don't want to put it on every part. So I'm cutting 2 pieces. I'm going to cut 2 boning for this lining. We'll come back to that. So let's take the actual piece. Now for the actual piece, guys, we are putting 2 each, double boning. So I'm marking 1/2 inch from the upper part, 0.75 on the down part, so that when I sew, I have enough allowance down there if I want to turn it with bias. So I'm going to cut 2 each. So watch what I'm doing. So we have 4. That's 2 for that, 2 for that. Then we also cut this center front boning. So we're going to cut 4. That is 2. So after cutting them, I'm going to iron that boning. Then after I iron, I will now sew the seams. I will sew with 0.25. So we have 0.25 left because it is ½ inch I added for the sewing allowance. Then I normally use my nail file to file the mouth of my boning, or you can use your lighter to burn the mouth. After sewing them, guys, this is how it is looking on the outer part. Like I said, it is asymmetric corset. So now that I've ironed the boning, you can see that it's looking straight. I'm now going to be fixing the boning inside. Now, if you don't want to do this, you can sew your cup or your piece, but before you fix your boning later, or you can do this, it's still the same. So guys, I've gone ahead to put the boning inside, and like I said, there are two double boning on each seam. Can you see how it is? Now for the lining, I said I'm only going to put on only the center front. Now this is me putting it. So we have both the lining and the actual piece ready. So for the back pattern, we are also going to be putting the boning. Now this boning is on the lining, not on the actual back pattern, actual back piece. So this is me marking ½ inch away from the upper part, 0.75 away from the down part, and I'm going to cut the sizes of boning that I want to put. Then after that, I'm just going to be adding one more boning channel here to the back piece. Then I'm also going to cut the boning. Then I'll go and iron the boning. Then I'll sew on it. After sewing it, this is how it is. Now we're going to be taking the actual piece. I will place the lining on it. I will sew the upper parts with ½ inch. Then you top stitch and you turn. You sew with ½ inch. You top stitch and you turn. After turning, you just use your stitch to secure both down. This is it. If you want to sew inside, if you don't want any stitch to show on the side seam, you can do that, but leave the center back open. So guys, this long fabric you are seeing here is 5 inches. I folded it ½ inch on both sides, and I got 2 inches because what I need is 2 inches. Now just do exactly what I'm doing. So you're going to open it. Now because it is ironed, we have that middle line, so I'm going to divide it into 2 because I need 2 for the 2 back. Now when you place it and you sew, that is how it's going to be. This is for boning casing because we want that back to have structure. Now you take your boning. I'm using the original boning, and I'm going to cut. I'll minus 0.75 from that down part here. Then I'll cut the actual size. So I'm going to cut 4 of these because I'm putting 2 on each casing. So that is how you place, and you're going to sew the 2 sides. Now follow the shape of your back when you are sewing. You sew it with the casing. So after sewing, this is how it is. Now anything you are sewing should not exceed that your center line of this casing. Do you understand what I mean? So when you finish sewing, this is how it's going to be when you close it. Now before we close, I'm just showing you that space is for the eyelets. It depends on the size of eyelet you are using. So guys, you're going to fold it this way because we want to close the upper part, and you sew very close to your upper part there. Then when you sew, you're now going to trim off the excess. So you trim off the excess, then you now turn. I've done this severally on my channel, so most of you that have been watching my videos, you're already used to this part. So use your scissors to bring it out very well. You do the same thing for the other side. You're not going to sew that part where I'm touching. You're going to sew it down. You're going to sew it down. After sewing, guys, this is how it is. Now I'm going to create another channel, but first I'm going to cut the excess of this. So I'm just placing it so I can cut the same size, the same length. Then guys, like I said, I'm going to be creating another boning. So the actual line I sewed before only show at the back. Now I'm going to repeat that line so that I can show on the front. So when I sew it, it's going to repeat on the front. Now look at it. After sewing, it is showing on the front. Now I'm going to take that 0.25 boning I used for the front. I'm going to be inserting it at this back. This is to give it a very good structure, so that when you are tightening or lacing your client's back, it will be firm. So you put 2 each, just the same thing we did. Cut the size aside 0.75 from the down parts. Then you push your boning inside. Use your file or your fire to always burn the mouth of both the upper part and the down part. Burn the mouth of your boning. Then put that for the 2. So the 4 boning are inside. Now guys, let's work on the front. We've been working on the back since. Let's attach our cup to it. So guys, I'm going to put the cup on the center front. Make sure this one that is towards the side front face the side front, the one that is towards the center front faces center front of your cup. Then you pin and you sew to the upper part. So you repeat the same thing for the lining. Now there are 2 ways in which you can do this. After sewing, this is what you have. Now you can choose to take your cup and you gum it to your cup, but before that, let's turn this upper part with lining first, then you top stitch. Yeah, so this is what I mean. You are going to see what I want to do now. Now this cup, guys, like I said, you can choose to gum your cup to your main cup cover before you sew it on your fabric, or you do this. But I think that one is better. I've been doing that one on the channel. I just decided to try this to see if it will be easier for me, but I prefer gumming it to the cup cover first, then before sewing it to the center front. So this is me taking my gum. You can use please use that a stronger gum, or that gum whereby you plug before you gum. So you align it properly and you now gum it to your fabric. So you do that for the 2 cup. After gumming, this is what I have. But guys, I prefer the one I said. Gum it to your cup cover first before you attach it to the center front. Now I've gone ahead to run a stitch to secure both the sides and the down part. Then you take your back parts and you place them on each other, and we're going to be sewing with the 1.5 inches allowance we added when we are drafting. After that, guys, this is how it is when I finish sewing it. Now I'm happy with this outcome because the cup is cupping, you know. So guys, the next thing is to turn the down part with a bias. Now I cut the same piece. I iron it just the way you iron bias, just the way bias is. Yeah, then I'm going to take it, then I'll fold the edge like that. Then I'm going to sew and also just sew it the way you sew a bias on your clothes. Now this is how it is after running it. And so guys, this is it. You are going to fix your lacing on it, then you attach your sleeve. It depends on any sleeve you want. I did this sleeve initially before my client said she wanted a different sleeve. So bye.